right, so just to go over some of the points that were missed in the first initial affirmative. Sin taxes are basically justified by both all three local, state, and federal governments in order to, one, increase tax revenues for those governments, and also to deter behavior that the government deems would be immoral, or considers immoral or unjustified. Basically, the first negative didn't touch on one of the main points that we have. It has to do with our first stock issue, subpoint B. In many cases, the revenues collected from sin taxes are not used to address the consequences of unhealthy behavior. Basically, sin taxes, like I said before, sin taxes are used to justify punishing those people who engage in activities that the government considers immoral or unjustified. So the fact that a lot of the tax revenues aren't going to treatment of addiction, such as a treatment or healthcare or things like that, just goes to show that the tax should not be imposed. I have some evidence to support this idea. In 1998, according to William and Mitchell College of Law, Master Settlement Agreement is an accord reached in November of 1998 between the state attorney generals of 46 states, 5 U.S. territories, and the District of Columbia, and the 5 largest tobacco companies in America. Required tobacco industry to pay the states $10 billion annually, as well as other restrictions. But some interesting facts about how that revenue was used. Mississippi, for example, received the most revenue per capita. This is according to an article from the George Mason University Mercatus Center. Basically, Mississippi received the most revenue per capita from the Master Settlement Agreement, but spent only 29.8% of the settlement funds on CDC recommended healthcare measures and only 4.6% on anti-smoking campaigns. 65.6% of that revenue was used to address, was not used to address the issues of smoking and the consequences of smoking, as far as social welfare issues go. Also, to go on about the Master Settlement Agreement, according to the same article from the George Mason University, across all U.S. States, for every dollar of MSA Master Settlement Agreement, less than 5 cents was spent on anti-smoking programs. A large share of the remainder finds its way into the general budget and is used to fund other government programs. So to go on to the second stock issue, the burden felt by the taxpayer causes significant harm to the taxpayer and the economy. Subpoint B. So subpoint B says that the fact that revenues from sin taxes are not used to address the effects of immoral behavior is significant because it means that the tax is no longer serving its original purpose, and the money will no longer help the taxpayer. I've got a quote from an article put out by the Mason University. It's called "Sin Taxes, Size Growth, and Creation of this Industry." Basically, the quote is, "When such taxes, sin taxes, are levied independently for the concern of underlying externality, they become revenue-raising rather than social welfare taxes." So basically, sin taxes are used to sort of disguise, basically just a tax that the U.S. government wants to implement in order to raise their own revenues, whether that's because of their own economic misplanning or something like that. So it can't be justified as a tax to, it can't be used, the argument that it is immoral, that it is moral to sort of punish those who participate in activities that are considered immoral by the government, is not justified because the revenues from sin taxes are not used to help those people who have addiction problems. Going on, Going on to stock issue 6, by implementing taxes based on moral judgments of these vices, the government is interfering with consumers' freedom of choice. This means that taxpayers no longer have consumer sovereignty. What consumer sovereignty is defined as, according to the Mises Institute, it's a quote from Ludwig von Mises. Okay, well basically, consumer sovereignty is basically the idea that the consumer has the ultimate decision as far as deciding what it would be good or bad for him, and the fact that the government is sort of implementing a punishment on him goes to show that the government is implying that it knows what is best for the consumer. When governments claim things are immoral or sinful, they are kind of blurring the lines between church and state. They're passing down moral judgments instead of implementing laws that would account for safety. Okay, going on to the solvency claims. 3 solvency claims we have is that abolishing sin taxes on federal, state, and local levels would completely eliminate the burden on taxpayer paying sin taxes. So basically, the fact that, an example, the lower economic classes would no longer be unfairly taxed. Money would no longer be taken out of the taxpayer's hand, only to be allocated to something that wouldn't actually benefit them. And the black markets that result from implementation of sin taxes would no longer exist because sort of the disparities between the different states as far as taxes on things like cigarettes go, there wouldn't be any disparities, so there would be no reason to have a black market. Yeah, that's it.